Good morning, students. Today we are going to start something from the book that you have already been given, the Mindscape. And in the Mindscape, you can see the topic we are going to discuss today. It is a story by R.K. Narayan. And boys, I would like you to have a look at the full name of the writer, Rasipuram Krishna Swami Ayyar Narayan Swami. Why I am telling this? Because the name will be asked in the objective questions, 1 mark question, where you have to write it down clearly and then you will be awarded that marks. I am very much sure that you are familiar with the name of R.K. Narayan. You are going to read an interesting story written by him. What is happening is that you are seeing Leela's friend. Leela is a person. Leela is a little girl and his friend, and her friend rather. But before starting the chapter, I would like to have a feel of the writing of R.K. Narayan. Boys, I would like to mention some of his stories and you would be able to understand what really happens in his stories. Boys, you would be absolutely sure. What I am going to tell you is that R.K. Narayan writes stories, and naturally when there is a story, a certain problem is going to arise. And boys, when the problem is arising, what is going to happen? You are going to have the automatic solution coming. Boys, I don't know whether you have read the story called The Engine Trouble. Boys, in that story, what happens, a person gets a prize and the prize is unusual one. Road roller, you have seen the roads are constructed, roller is there. What happens, boys? The person gets it in a fair, and in that fair he gets it, and the problem arises where to keep it. It remains there in the fairground as long as the fair remains there, and after that he gets the notice that he should take it away. He takes it home. Some elephant is, pulling it. A drunk driver is there. He, does this in such a clumsy manner that some of the walls are broken, some damages take place, and boys, he has been, penalized for that. And when it comes to his house, he keeps it at a certain place. He has been, charged, rather penalized, and he has to pay for it. And boys, what happens? One night, the little earthquake takes place, and the roller rolls on its own and goes down into a well. And that well's water had been rotten, and the person who owned it wanted to fill it up. And boys, the road roller went into the well, and the problem ended so quickly. Without any problem, the problem of well was solved, and the person got the money for it, and he paid it there, and the problem was solved. Boys, automatic solution. The man did not have to do anything. Boys, one more story I would like to mention. Out of work, out of job rather. A person has become out of job because he was working and the expertise that he had, that particular firm was there in the place called Malgudi. Most of his story, all of his stories rather, is basically based in a place which is not the real one. It has been created. It has been the imagination, no? Not a real one. It's an imaginative place called Malgudi, and the place had one firm where the main protagonist, I'm forgetting the name, he worked there. But what happened was he was out of job because the firm was closed. The man had a good lifestyle. His children were, means one daughter and son. They were working in a particular, reading in a good school. And now, boys, the problem arose. What will the man do? Everything continued for certain time. Now he had no work. He went to the public library. He got the magazines, read them, and he found the crossword puzzle was. He wanted to solve it. He solved it and asked the money from his wife because he wanted to post the solution to the magazine. Boys, the man posted the solution, but he had the bad luck continuing still, and what was happening? He was not getting the prize. First month, second month, third month, same thing happening, and the wife now was showing the anger. You know, housewives keep the money, they have saved it from this or that bargain and all, and that money he was asking for posting the letter and sending the solution of the crossword puzzle. And boys, what is happening? The man was not getting the prize and the money was being wasted. Now, boys, Diwali bumper issue came and the price was also, very much price, the amount of was double or treble, and the man wanted to win the first prize. So the magazine, when it came on the very first day, he began to solve it, and he solved it by working so hard on it, and he sent the solution on the very first day. And boys, he was pretty sure that he will get the first prize. But what is happening, boys? The prize once again eluded him. What happened? Next month's magazine, when it arrived in a train, the man went to the magazine stall that was at the station. He went there and asked the magazine seller that give me the book. He said, you always come here to see the solution of the puzzle that you have solved and you never buy anything. And the person said that, well, I am telling you that I am going to subscribe it for the whole year because I am going to win the prize this time. And boys, with bated breath, and he opened the magazine and he tried to find out the solution. Okay, solution was there, but the winner was someone else. And boys, what will this protagonist do? He was heartbroken. Every day he spent most of his time in the library. And what is happening here? The person, decided to commit suicide. So he moved on the platform. Boys, you have seen the construction of the platform. As it ends, it bends. He went down and went on a line and reclined on it. And he was waiting for the train of 7:30 or something to arrive, and he will commit suicide. He was lying down, his head was on one line and leg was on another line, and he was waiting for the train to arrive. And it appeared to him, he did not have the watch with him on that day, and he felt that a lot of time has been spent. And boys, what happened? He was now feeling the ache here, pain on the head because it was on the line. And he anyhow got up and went to the station inquiry counter and said, "What happened to the 7:20 train?" The the person who was in the counter said that, "What are you telling? It is 10 o'clock. Something has happened in the line. That's why train services have been stopped." The man was puzzled. Even, suicide could not take place. Now, boys, he returned home. He had no option. When he returned home, he found something, special. Wife is waiting, children are waiting eagerly. What happened to him? And today, he got some special treatment. The children were around him. The wife was around him. They were asking what had happened. When he was given the water, he washed his hands and legs and went to have the food. At that time, the wife said that we have a good, means there is a good news. The person who was in their house, actually he had rented the house which he had built, and from that money he was leading a very simple lifestyle in a very ordinary area. And the wife said that now the person who had rented their house wants to buy it because it suits them very well. Their business and everything has flourished so much that they want to buy it at a premium rate. And boys, what I want to tell you, R.K. Narayan's story has an automatic solution. So he got the money, thousands of rupees he got. He said, "Give me certain amount of money, I am going to Madras where my knowledge will be more valuable there. There is no one to give me value because my company has stopped here, ended its services here." So the automatic solution came, boys. The person went to Madras with the money that his wife gave after selling the building, and boys, they now went to a better area, and the children were once again sent to the good school where they were, because when there was no money, they had been brought in a government school. Now everything came, the man did not have to do any kind of effort, automatic solution. What I am telling you, boys, in most of the cases you will find there is automatic solution. Now, boys, the topic today is Leela's friend, and boys, what is the LCM of the stories of R.K. Narayan? You will get the automatic solution. The problem will be there, automatic solution will be there. So, boys, I would like you to visualize the situation. There's a big, rural side, rich person's house, a big house, and there is a big compound in front of it, and there is a iron, you can say, barricaded with iron. There is iron gate and lock and all. It is not locked there, and someone is standing at the iron gate, and the story begins. You see, now concentrate. Siddha was hanging about the gate at the moment when Mr. Sipsakkar was standing in front veranda of his house. Boys, one more thing I forgot to tell you. R.K. Narayan has a special place in the literature of our country. Why, boys? Because he was one of the pioneers in English writing. There were many Hindi and Tamil and Uriya, Kannada, Malayalam, Sanskrit, all writers. There were very few writers who had flourished, English writers who had flourished in our country. R.K. Narayan was one of them, Mulk Rajanand was there, and Raja Rao was there. They were the three beginning writers, and Malgudi days, you might have heard about him. You will get it in YouTube. some of the interesting stories are there. You may read them once. And what is happening here? Leela's friend is taken from R.K. Narayan's popular short story called The Malgudi Days. The story, no, I'm not going to read that one because your suspense will be diminished. Now, guys, the iron gate that I was telling, at the iron gate, there is a person, one of the important characters of the story, Siddha. Siddha was hanging about the gate at the moment when Mr. Shiv Shankar was standing in front veranda of his house. Front veranda, you can very well imagine, Mr. Shiv Shankar is standing here and watching that somebody is standing near the gate, brooding over the servant problem. Mr. Shiv Shankar was thinking about the servant problem that was disturbing him for a long time. Brooding over the servant problem, thinking about the servant problem. And now, boys, the question, sir, do you want a servant? Siddha asked. Siddha asked Mr. Shiv Shankar. Here, Siddha, here Mr. Shiv Shankar standing at the front veranda, and he is asking, sir, do you want a servant? Siddha asked. Come in, said Mr. Shiv Shankar. Naturally, he had servant problem. There was no servant at home, and you can very well imagine the richer class people, when there is no servant, they want it so that their wives and family members must not be troubled with the household, activities. Now, what is happening? Come in, said Mr. Shiv Shankar. As Siddha opened the gate and came in, you can imagine the situation. Siddha coming in, opened the gate and came in. Mr. Shiv Shankar subjected him to scrutiny and said to himself, subjected him to examination. Scrutiny means examination. Boys, what happens when you take the examination? After that, we check it, and after checking, boys, in the board exams, we have to do the scrutiny. We examine whether something has been left or not. Something, other examiners have forgotten to put the marks, or some calculation mistake, or some of the questions that have not been checked out. So this is the scrutiny, and here scrutiny is something else. Boys, when we meet someone, when we talk to someone, when we want to select a servant, we look at the person's face and try to judge what kind of person is he exactly. Now, he is doing the same thing to subjected him to scrutiny and said to himself, doesn't seem to be a bad sort. He doesn't seem to be a bad person. At any rate, the fellow looks tidy. What happened? The fellow looked tidy, clean. He was not a dirty person, either in his appearance or in his dress. So, it's an impressive point that he got. Where were you before? Boys, enjoy the question and try to understand scene behind the scene. Where were you before, he asked. Siddha said, in a bungalow there. Where? There. Vague answer. There, and indicated a vague somewhere. Vague, unclear. Something unclear, he just showed it somewhere. In the doctor's house. Which doctor? No name. In a doctor's house, somewhere, he was employed there. What is his name? I don't know, master, Siddha said. Siddha did not tell the name of the doctor. You can very well imagine, if a person is working in the house of someone, he must know the name, at least even the title, etc. But here, the person who aspires to be a servant doesn't know in whose house he was working. Now you may have a suspicion arising in your mind, what kind of servant is that? That he doesn't know the name of his employer. No. I don't know, master. He lives near the market. He says that he lives near the market. Why did they send you away? What is the reason that they send you away? They left the town master, Siddha said, giving the stock reply. Boys, any person who gives employment to a person as a servant, he wants to know where he was and for what reason he is not working there. And Siddha clarified it by telling that they had left the town, that is why he was jobless now, because they had gone. Stop reply. Mr. Sivsankar was unable to make up his mind. He called his wife. What happens in these matters, or in every matter, one person taking it unilateral decision, it's not good. It is better to have, a discussion among the family members, and then there is a decision taken so that the person must not be blamed for it. Now, he called his wife. She looked at Siddha and said, he doesn't seem to be to me worse than others we have had. She clarified that the persons who had worked in their house as servants, he seems not worse than that. He is not worse than those who have already worked in their house. Now, positive, Sivsankar positive, Sivsankar's wife positive, Leela, their 5-year-old daughter, out of the boys, the clincher is coming in the name of Leela. Leela, their 5-year-old daughter, came out looking at Siddha and gave a cry of joy. Oh, father, she said, I like him. Don't send him away. Let us keep him in our house. And that decided it. Boys, what was the reason? The reason was that Leela liked the person and she gave the permission. Rather, stamp was given, a stamp of sanction was given. A stamp of approval was given by Leela. He said that I like him, and what she said, take him, don't send him away, let us keep him in our house, and that decided. What was the real point in deciding Siddha's employment? It was Leela who approved it. Siddha was given, boys, always keep it in mind, one marks question will be asked. What was given to Siddha? 2 meals a day, 4 rupees a month, in return for which he washed clothes, tended the garden, ran errand, chopped wood, and looked after Leela. All the points you must have understood. And ran errand. Ran errand means the servant is there at home, and what happens? Suddenly, the owner of the house is telling Sita, go to the market, bring a packet of salt or 1 kg of potato or tomato or some milk, etc., etc., etc. Running there and coming quickly. That is the basic thing behind the word called running errand. And all the things, tending the garden, chopping the wood and all these things he had to perform. Siddha come and play. Siddha come and play. Leela would cry and Siddha had to drop any work he might be doing and run to her as she stood in front garden with a red ball in her hand. Just try to understand Leela's friend, and it is clear Leela's friend is no one else but Siddha. And whatever work Siddha was doing at that moment, she called him, and Siddha had to come, had to reply positively to Leela. He had to leave the job and come to Leela. His company made her supremely happy. Leela was absolutely happy with the company of Siddha. She made her supremely, she flung the ball at him and he flung it back. The way we do the catching practice we do in the similar manner, Siddha and Leela used to play. And then she said, now throw the ball into the sky. It was the order of Leela to throw it in the sky. Siddha clutched the ball, closed the eyes for a second and threw the ball up. When the ball came down again, he said, now this has touched the moon and come. You see, here is a little bit of moon sticking. Boys, you can imagine how fertile was the imagination of Siddha. He had great imagination. He said that the ball which is coming to him, some part of moon is sticking to the ball. Imagine what kind of thinking he had, what kind of imagination he had. And Siddha clutched the ball, closed his eyes for a second and threw the ball up. When the ball came down again, he said, now this has touched the moon and come. You see, here is a little bit of moon sticking. See, he told Leela, see, little bit of moon is sticking here. Leela keenly examined the ball for traces of moon and said, I don't see it. Innocent child looked at the ball and said, where is the moon? I am not able to see any kind of moon sticking here. I don't see. You must be very quick about it. Now again he has a logic. He says, you have to be very quick. You must be very quick about it. He said, Siddha, because it will all evaporate and go back to the moon. Now hurry up. He covered the ball tightly with his finger and allowed her to peep through a little gap. Ah, yes, said Leela. I see the moon. But is the moon very wet? Certainly it is, said Siddha. Boys, now he showed the ball by closing it into his fist, and Leela said, okay, yes, it is. Then she had a question, is it wet? He said, yes. What is in the sky? Said Siddha. God, he said. And boys, we will keep it up to here, and we will proceed further on the further in the next class, up to this one. God, where we are stopping here at the point called God. Who is there? It is God. And so, boys, thank you. You just go through the chapter and try to understand what are the things we have discussed. We will discuss it further next time. Thank you.